The ship moved through space like a silver needle through dark cloth. Inside the vessel, Da'un stood in the main laboratory and looked at the red planet below. Velthara Prime, her homeworld, the place where she was born and raised. She felt proud and nervous at the same time. The Endeavor's promise was not like other ships. It carried researchers from many different species. Humans worked next to Veltharns. Engineers from distant worlds fixed machines alongside pilots from other galaxies. They all came together to study dangerous places that most people avoided. Da'un was the chief medical officer. She knew more about poisons and toxins than almost anyone in the galaxy. Her people, the Veltharns, were famous for this knowledge. Their bodies could resist thousands of different venoms. Their immune systems were the strongest in the known universe. This made Da'un confident, perhaps too confident. She adjusted her medical coat and turned away from the window. Her golden scales caught the light. Her vertical pupils narrowed slightly. Today they would go down to the surface. Today they would enter the Crimson Wastes. The Crimson Wastes were ancient. Even the Veltharn stayed away from that place. The land was red and dead. Strange plants grew there. Unusual fungi covered the rocks. Scientists believed that old civilizations once lived in those wastelands. But they all died long ago. No one knew why. Captain Yuna entered the laboratory. She was human, tall and straight. Her dark eyes moved across the room and checked everything. She had been a soldier before becoming a ship captain. This showed in the way she walked and spoke. "Are we ready?" Yuna asked. Her voice was calm and steady. Da'un nodded. "The team is prepared. We have all the equipment we need." The captain looked at the planet below. "The Crimson Wastes are dangerous. Even for Veltharns." Da'un felt a small flash of annoyance. "My people have studied this world for thousands of years. We know how to stay safe." Other team members arrived. Kriegstall came first. He was also Veltharn, young and eager to learn. He carried medical bags and scanning devices. Dr. Huan followed him. The old human scientist had white hair and kind eyes. He had worked with many alien species during his long life. Then Teo entered. He was human like the captain, but different. He moved quietly. His dark eyes watched everything but said nothing. He was the emergency response specialist, a field medic. Da'un had worked with him for 6 months now. She still did not understand him. Humans confused Da'un. They were so young as a species, only 1,000 years in space. Their medicine seemed basic compared to Veltharn science, yet they survived. They adapted. They solved problems in strange ways that other species never considered. Teo checked his equipment. Medical supplies, emergency tools, strange bottles with human remedies. Da'un found it almost amusing. What could human medicine do that Veltharn science could not? She pushed the thought away. They had work to do. The shuttle took them down to the surface. The Crimson Wastes spread out below like a wound on the planet's skin. Red rocks, red sand. Even the sky seemed to have a red tint. The air tasted strange through the filters in their suits. They landed near ancient ruins. Broken walls stuck up from the ground like broken teeth. Strange symbols covered the stones. Da'un felt excited. This was real science. Real discovery. Her scanner beeped and clicked as she moved through the ruins. Then she saw them. Fungi. Growing on the walls in beautiful patterns. They glowed with soft blue light. She had never seen anything like them. Not in any database. Not in any record. These organisms were completely new. "Look at this," she called to the others. Kriegstall came over quickly. Dr. Huan moved slower, but his eyes were bright with interest. Even Teo stopped to look. The fungi seemed to pulse with inner light. Beautiful, fascinating, deadly. Da'un reached out carefully. She took a sample. The fungi came away from the wall easily. Too easily. As it broke free, a small cloud of dust rose into the air. Tiny particles, almost invisible. They floated in the filtered atmosphere like morning mist. No one noticed. The particles were too small. The filters should have caught them. Should have. But these spores were ancient. They had evolved millions of years ago. They knew how to slip past defenses. They knew how to find living tissue. The team continued working. They collected more samples. They took pictures. They recorded data. Da'un felt happy. This discovery would make her famous. Other scientists would read about her work. Her name would be remembered. Hours passed. The sun moved across the red sky. Finally, Captain Yuna called them back to the shuttle. "We have enough for today," she said. We can return tomorrow." The team gathered their equipment and headed back. On the shuttle ride up, Daun felt tired. More tired than usual. She thought it was just the work. Walking in the wastes, carrying equipment, her body would recover. Veltharn bodies always recovered. Back on the ship, she went to her quarters. She removed her suit. Her scales looked dull. That was strange. But not too strange. She needed rest. That was all, just rest. She lay down and closed her eyes. Sleep came quickly. Too quickly. Her dreams were confused. Colors swirled. Voices spoke in languages she did not know. Somewhere deep in her body, something was wrong. The spores had found a home. They were growing, spreading, releasing their ancient poison. When she woke, evening had come. Her head hurt. Her scales felt hot. She looked at her arm and saw something that made her heart beat faster. Dark lines, like tiny rivers, running under her scales, moving toward her chest, moving toward her heart. Daun tried to stand but fell. Her legs would not hold her. She reached for her communicator. Her hand shook. This was not possible. Veltharns did not get sick. Not like this. Their immune systems were perfect. They were designed by millions of years of evolution to resist any poison, but the dark lines spread. And somewhere in the back of her mind, in the place where ancient memories lived, a word appeared. A word she had only seen in old books. A word from before her civilization learned to write. Velkurith. The shadow death. The toxin that killed the ancestors of her species. The poison that should not exist anymore. The thing that haunted Veltharn nightmares for 10,000 years. It had come back. And it had chosen her. The medical bay was bright and cold. Too bright, too cold. Daun lay on a bed surrounded by machines. Screens beeped. Tubes ran from her arms. The dark lines had spread across her entire body. They looked like cracks in glass, like her body was breaking apart from the inside. Krikstal stood over her. His hands moved quickly. He injected medicines. He ran tests. He checked the monitors again and again. But nothing worked. Nothing helped. The poison moved through her blood like a silent army. Other Veltharn doctors arrived. They came through video screens from across the galaxy, the best minds of their species. They looked at the data. They whispered to each other. Their scales showed colors of worry and fear. These were colors Daun had never seen on Veltharn doctors before. "It is Velkurith," Krikstal said finally. His voice was quiet, almost afraid. The other doctors went silent. Even through the screens, Daun could see their fear. Velkurith was not just a poison. It was a nightmare made real. A ghost from their past. Captain Yuna stood in the corner. She did not understand all the medical terms. But she understood fear. She had seen it in battle. She saw it now in the Veltharn doctors. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Can you cure it?" Krikstal looked at Daun. Then he looked at the captain. "No," he said. "There is no cure. There never was. The toxin is too old, too perfect. It was designed by evolution to kill Veltharns. Nothing else. Just us." Daun listened to them talk. She wanted to speak, but her voice was weak. The poison was in her lungs now. In her blood. In her brain. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat felt like it might be the last one. "How long?" Captain Yuna asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Krikstal checked his screen. 48 hours. Maybe less. The old records are clear. Everyone who got this poison died within 2 days. No exceptions. The captain sent messages to every major world. Emergency broadcasts went out across Coalition space. Scientists from hundreds of species received the data. They studied it. They ran simulations. They searched old databases and ancient records. But the answer was always the same: no cure, no hope. Daun drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, she worked. She was a scientist even now. Even dying. She took her own blood samples. She ran her own tests. She recorded her symptoms with shaking hands. If she was going to die, at least her death would teach others something. She found old texts in the ship's database. Stories from before her species had cities. Before they had science. The stories spoke of a great predator. A creature that hunted Veltharns in the ancient forests. Its bite carried the shadow death. One bite meant certain death. Her ancestors had hunted those creatures. Killed them all. Made them extinct. They thought they had won. They thought they were safe. But the poison lived on, hidden in the fungi, waiting in the crimson wastes. Waiting for millions of years. Waiting for her, Teo came to visit. He stood at the door of the quarantine room. He did not say anything. He just watched. His dark eyes moved across the monitors. Studied the data. Read the medical reports. Dayun saw him but did not have the strength to speak. Dr. Juan came with him. The old human scientist looked sad. He had worked with Dawn many times. They had become friends. He touched the glass of the quarantine wall. "I am sorry," he said softly. "You are a brilliant scientist. The galaxy will miss you." 24 hours passed. Dayun's body began to shut down. Her organs were failing one by one. The poison attacked everything. Her heart struggled to beat. Her lungs could barely pull in air. Her brain was foggy. She could not think clearly anymore. Crixtal stayed with her the whole time. He held her hand through the protective barrier. He spoke to her in their native language. Words of comfort, words of respect. He told her that her family knew, that they were proud of her, that her name would be remembered. The Veltharn High Council sent a message. They said they were sorry. They said they wished they could help. But they could not. No one could. The Shadow Death was stronger than all their science. Stronger than all their knowledge. It proved that even the mighty Veltharns could be defeated. Ambassador Thelmora contacted Dayun's family on the homeworld. They spoke through screens. Her mother cried. Her father stood silent and strong. Her siblings asked questions that had no answers. Dayun tried to smile for them, tried to be brave, but she was so tired, so very tired. The crew gathered outside the medical bay. Humans and aliens stood together. They did not know what to say. Death was always hard, but this felt different. Dayun was young. She was brilliant. She had so much life ahead of her. And now it was ending because of dust from ancient fungi. 30 hours passed, then 35. Dayun could no longer open her eyes. The monitors showed her life draining away. Her heartbeat was slow and weak. Her breathing came in short gasps. The dark lines covered her entire body now. She looked like a shadow of herself. Captain Yuna made the hardest decision of her life. She sent a message to all coalition worlds. Dayun's condition was being shared with the scientific community. Maybe someone in the future would learn from this. Maybe someone would find a way to prevent it from happening again. But for Dayun, there would be no future. Only hours remained. Maybe minutes. The poison had won. Evolution had won. The ancient predator had claimed one more victim across the gulf of millions of years. Teo stood outside the medical bay. He had been there for hours. Not moving, not speaking, just thinking. Dr. Juan stood with him. They talked in low voices. They looked at tablets filled with data. They drew diagrams. They argued quietly about things the others could not hear. Crixtal noticed them but did not care. What could humans do? Their medicine was primitive compared to Veltharn science. If the best Veltharn doctors in the galaxy could not save Dayun, how could these young species help? It was impossible. Inside the quarantine room, Dayun felt herself slipping away. The pain was less now. Not because she was better. Because her nerves were dying. Her body was giving up. She thought of her home world. The red deserts. The ancient cities. The proud history of her people. She thought of all the things she would never do. Research she would never complete. Discoveries she would never make. Children she would never have. It was not fair. But life was not fair. Evolution was not fair. Death came when it came. The monitors beeped slower. Her heart was failing. Crixtal prepared the final medicines. Not to cure. That was impossible. Just to make her comfortable. To let her die with dignity. It was all they could do now. But then the door opened. Teo walked in. His face was calm. Too calm. He carried a small medical kit. He looked at Crixtal. He looked at Dayun. He looked at the monitors showing her dying body. And he said 3 words that changed everything. 3 words that seemed impossible. 3 words that made everyone in the room stop and stare. I can help. The room went silent. Everyone stared at Teo. Crixtal's scales changed color. They showed anger and confusion. His vertical pupils became thin lines. "What did you say?" he asked. His voice was tight. Teo did not look away. He stood straight and calm. "I said I can help. I believe I can save her. The words hung in the air like impossible things, like dreams that could never be real. Krikstal took a step forward. His hands formed fists. That is not possible. The best Veltharn doctors in the galaxy have tried. Experts from 100 worlds have reviewed the data. There is no cure. There never was. This is shadow death. Do you understand what that means? I understand, Teo said quietly. I understand that your doctors have tried everything they know. But I know something different. Something that comes from Earth, from my species, from our evolution. Dr. Juan entered behind Tayo. He carried a tablet. His old face looked serious but hopeful. Captain, he said to Yuna, we need to talk. We have a theory. It is dangerous. It might not work. But it is a chance. Captain Yuna moved closer. She looked at the two humans. Then she looked at Daun. The Veltharn woman was barely alive. Her chest moved so slowly. The monitors showed her body failing. What did they have to lose? Explain, the captain said. Dr. Juan held up the tablet. It showed complex diagrams, chemical structures, biological data. Earth is a violent world, he began. It always has been. Thousands of different venoms, millions of diseases, countless ways to die. Humans evolved in that chaos. Our immune systems are aggressive, Teo continued. Other species think we are reckless. Our bodies attack foreign substances too quickly, too violently. But that is our strength. We evolved to fight poisons that would kill most species. Krikstal shook his head. That means nothing. Veltharn immune systems are far more advanced than human ones. If we cannot fight this toxin, neither can you. His voice was dismissive, almost insulting. You are right, Dr. Juan said. This surprised everyone. Your immune systems are more advanced, more precise, more specialized. But that is the problem. You evolved past something that we still have. He showed them the data. Millions of years ago, Veltharns had a different enzyme. A simple one. It fought basic toxins. Then you evolved. Your immune system became perfect, precise. You did not need that old enzyme anymore, so you lost it. But the ancient predators on your world remembered it, Teo said. They evolved a toxin that specifically bypasses your modern immune system. It targets the gap where that old enzyme used to be, the gap you no longer have. Captain Yuna was starting to understand. And humans still have that enzyme? The old one? Dr. Juan nodded. Yes, we call it terralase. It is basic, simple, primitive even, but it is still there. We never faced the evolutionary pressure to lose it. Tayo opened his medical kit. Human blood contains this enzyme. If we introduce it into Daun's system, it might attack the toxin. The poison is designed to bypass Veltharn defenses, but it does not know about human defenses. It never encountered them. Krikstal looked at the data. His anger faded slowly, replaced by uncertainty, by hope, by fear. This is theoretical, he said. Cross-species blood transfusions are extremely dangerous. Human blood in a Veltharn body could cause massive rejection. It could kill her faster than the poison. Yes, Teo agreed. It could. The risk is high, but she is dying anyway. Right now? In the next hour, maybe. What do we have to lose? The captain looked at the monitors. Daeun's heartbeat was getting weaker. Her breathing was shallow. Time was running out like sand through fingers. Captain Yuna had commanded soldiers in battle. She had made hard decisions before. But this was different. This was betting someone's life on a theory. She looked at Tayo. Really looked at him. She saw the calm in his eyes. The certainty. This man believed in his theory. He believed enough to risk everything. Are you sure about this? She asked. Tayo met her gaze. I am sure enough to try. I am sure enough to give my blood. I am sure enough to bet her life on it. And mine. His voice did not waver, did not doubt. It was the voice of a healer who had made his choice. Captain Yuna turned to Krikstal. What do you think? Medically, not emotionally. Can this work? The young Veltharn doctor looked at the data again. He ran quick calculations. He thought about everything he knew, everything he had learned. The theory is sound, he said slowly. Primitive, dangerous, but sound. The enzyme structure is compatible with the toxin. It could break down the molecular bonds, but the delivery is the problem. Human blood is so different from Veltharn blood. The rejection risk is almost certain. Almost certain is not the same as certain, Captain Yuna said. She made her decision. Do it. Prepare for the transfusion. We try this. Krikstal hesitated. Then he nodded. He was a doctor. His job was to save lives. Even when it seemed impossible, they moved quickly. Medical equipment was prepared. Compatibility tests were run. Teo's blood type was checked against Dayun's physiology. The results were better than expected. Not perfect, but better than feared. Maybe good enough. Dayun woke briefly. Her golden eyes opened. They were clouded with pain and confusion. She saw faces around her, saw the equipment, saw Teo preparing something. "What is happening?" she whispered. Her voice was barely there. Krikstal came close to her. "We are going to try something," he said gently. "The human, Teo, he believes he can help you. It is experimental. It might not work, but it is a chance." Dayun's eyes found Teo, the quiet human, the one she had dismissed as primitive. "Do it," she said. Each word cost her energy. "I trust you." She did not know why she said it. Maybe because she was dying. Maybe because she had nothing left to lose. Or maybe because something in her scientist's mind recognized the truth in his theory. The medical team prepared the filtration system. Human blood needed to be processed carefully before entering a Veltharn body. The procedure would take 3 hours. But then Krikstal checked Dayun's vitals. His scales went pale. "She does not have 3 hours," he said. "Maybe 30 minutes. Maybe less." Everyone looked at each other. The filtered transfusion was the safe option. But there was no time for safe. Teo understood this. He had always understood. That is why he brought his medical kit. Why he came prepared. He reached into the kit, pulled out a sterile scalpel. The blade caught the light. Sharp, clean, ready. He looked at his own hand, his palm, the place where his life flowed just beneath the skin. "No filtration," he said. "Direct transfer. My blood to hers, right now." Krikstal started to protest, started to explain all the reasons why this was insane. But Teo was already moving, already deciding, already acting. He pressed the blade against his palm, pressed hard, drew it across. The cut was deep and clean. Blood welled up immediately, rich and red. Human blood, carrying millions of years of Earth's violent history, carrying the enzyme that might save an alien life. Everyone froze. They watched the blood drip from his hand. This was not medicine. This was something older, something primal. A healer offering his own life to save another. A human doing what humans did best, taking risks that seemed impossible. Teo walked toward the quarantine chamber. His bleeding hand held steady. His face was calm, and in his eyes burned something that made everyone believe, made them hope, made them understand that sometimes the most primitive solution was the right one. 3 days passed. Dayun grew stronger each day. Her scales regained their golden color. Her breathing became steady. The dark veins were completely gone. Only faint scars remained where the poison had nearly destroyed her. Scars that would remind her forever of how close she came to death. She stayed in the medical bay for observation. Krikstal ran tests constantly, checking for toxin remnants, monitoring her organs, making sure the human enzymes had not caused lasting damage. Every test came back better than expected. Her body had not just survived. It had adapted. The traces of human blood in her system were being absorbed slowly. Her immune system had stopped fighting them. It had learned, recognized them as helpers, not enemies. This was unprecedented in medical science. Cross-species blood acceptance. It should not have been possible. Teo recovered quickly. Humans were good at recovering from blood loss. It was another gift from their violent planet. He visited Dayun every day. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. A strange friendship was forming, born from shared survival. On the 4th day, Dayun asked him to explain. Really explain. How did he know it would work? How did he have the courage to try? They sat in the medical bay. The machines beeped softly around them. The ship hummed with its usual sounds. "Earth is a hard world," Teo began. His voice was quiet, thoughtful. "Harder than most species realize. We evolved alongside thousands of predators. Countless diseases. Every plant seemed to have a toxin. Every animal had venom or claws or teeth. Our bodies learned to fight everything." "That sounds terrible," Dayun said. She tried to imagine such a world. Her home planet was toxic, but in known ways her species had mastered. Earth sounded like constant danger, constant death. "How did you survive?" "We adapted," Teo said simply. "We did not try to be perfect like Veltharns. We could not be specialists, so we became generalists. Our immune systems attack everything, violently, aggressively. Other species call it reckless, but it keeps us alive. He explained how human medicine developed, not from laboratories and precision science, but from healers watching bodies fight, learning what helped, what hurt, trying things, failing, trying again. Human medicine was built on thousands of years of trial and error, of courage and desperation. My grandmother was a healer, Teo said. His eyes looked distant, remembering. She lived in the mountains. She used herbs and old knowledge. She said that the body wants to live. A doctor's job is to help it fight, to give it weapons. Sometimes the weapons are medicine. Sometimes they are just time and belief. Dayun listened carefully. This was so different from Veltharn medicine. Her people had precise treatments for precise problems. They knew exactly which molecule would fix which cell. But they had lost something along the way. The ability to work with uncertainty. To trust the body itself. You took a huge risk, she said. What if I died? What if your blood killed me faster? Teo met her eyes. Then I would have tried and failed. But you were dying anyway, certain death or possible survival. The choice seemed clear to me. Veltharn doctors would not take that risk, Daon admitted. We would study more, test more, make absolutely certain before acting. By then I would be dead. She touched her arm where Teo's blood had entered. You chose action over certainty. Yes, Teo said. Because sometimes certainty is impossible. Sometimes you have to trust your knowledge, your instincts, your courage. That is what humans do. Not because we are brave, but because we have no choice. News of the cure spread across coalition space. Scientists from every species wanted the data, wanted to understand how it worked. Medical journals prepared special issues. The Veltharn High Council sent official messages of gratitude. Humanity's standing in the galactic community changed overnight. Dr. Juan became famous. Requests for interviews came daily. Everyone wanted to talk to the old scientist who figured out the solution. But he always credited Teo. I had the theory, he said. But Teo had the courage to test it. Courage is rarer than knowledge. Veltharn scientists studied the human enzyme. They synthesized it, created versions that other species could use safely. The compound that saved Daun would save countless others. Diseases thought incurable were suddenly treatable. All because of a primitive enzyme humans never lost. But there was more. Other scientists began looking at human biology with new eyes. What else did humans have that advanced species had lost? What other primitive traits were actually strengths? Research programs started across the galaxy, studying human immune systems, human healing rates, human adaptability. They found surprising things. Human blood had dozens of unique compounds, proteins that could fight infections other species could not resist, antibodies that worked in strange and unexpected ways. Humans were like living libraries of evolutionary solutions, solutions earned through millions of years of surviving a brutal world. Dayun spent hours reading the research. She had been arrogant. She admitted this to herself. She had thought Veltharn medicine was superior to all others. But superiority was not about precision. It was about results. And human medicine got results in ways her people never considered. We evolved to conquer our world, she said to Teo one day. We mastered the toxins, eliminated the predators, made our planet safe. But you never got that luxury. Earth never became safe, so you never stopped adapting. Teo nodded. That is accurate. Earth is still dangerous, still chaotic. Humans complain about it, dream of safer worlds. But that danger made us what we are. Adaptable, stubborn, willing to try impossible things. A new medical philosophy emerged from their conversations. Dayan called it adaptive medicine, combining Veltharn precision with human flexibility, using the best of both approaches. Other doctors joined their discussions. Soon it became a formal research program. Captain Yuna watched her crew change. Humans walked with more confidence. Aliens looked at them with more respect. The young species was not so young anymore. Not so primitive. They had proven their worth in the most dramatic way possible. By saving a life no one else could save. The Medical Council of the Coalition invited human representatives. For the first time, humans would help make decisions about galactic health policy. Their unique perspective was valued now, needed. The council realized that diversity was not just political correctness. It was survival. On the 10th day, Da-un was cleared to return to duty. She stood in the medical bay one last time, looked at the bed where she almost died, the place where human blood mixed with Veltharn, where two species became something more together. Teo came to walk her back to her quarters. They stopped at the viewing window, looked out at the stars, thousands of worlds out there, hundreds of species, each one shaped by their own evolution. Each one carrying their own gifts. Thank you, Da-un said. She touched the scar on her arm. You did not just save my life. You taught me to see medicine differently, to value courage as much as knowledge. Teo smiled. And you taught me that precision matters. That knowledge has its place. We make each other better. She looked at his hand, the scar where he cut himself, where he offered his blood without hesitation. That scar, she said, it means something. To both of us, he nodded. It means that sometimes the answer to our problems comes from unexpected places, from people we might have dismissed, from methods we thought were primitive. It means we are stronger together, Da-un said. Veltharn precision and human courage combined, that is real medicine. They stood in silence for a moment. Two doctors from different worlds, bound by blood and survival, ready to change galactic medicine forever. The ship moved through space, carrying them toward new discoveries, new challenges, new opportunities to prove that diversity was not weakness. It was the greatest strength. 6 months after the incident, the Endeavor's Promise arrived at a coalition medical conference. Ships from 100 worlds gathered in orbit around a neutral station. Doctors, scientists, and healers came together to share knowledge, to learn from each other, to push medical science forward. Da-un was the keynote speaker. Her presentation would open the conference. She stood backstage and felt nervous, not because of the crowd, but because her presentation would challenge everything the medical community believed. It would force them to reconsider what they thought they knew. Teo stood with her. He would present after her. Together, they would explain adaptive medicine, show how combining different evolutionary approaches created better solutions, prove that no single species had all the answers. Ready? He asked. Da-un nodded. Her scales showed colors of determination. She wore formal robes that honored both her Veltharn heritage and her new partnership with human medicine. On her arm, barely visible beneath the sleeve, was the scar. The reminder of where this all began. The auditorium was massive. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Some had bodies like liquid. Others were made of crystal. Some breathed methane. Some lived in special suits. But all were here for the same reason. To learn, to heal, to save lives. Da-un walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. The audience went silent. She could see Veltharn doctors in the front rows. Her former teachers. Her colleagues. They looked skeptical, uncertain. She understood. She had been the same way 6 months ago. 6 months ago I was dying, she began. Her voice was steady, strong. A toxin from my own world was killing me. The best Veltharn doctors tried to save me. They failed. Not because they were incompetent, but because they were limited by their thinking. By our thinking, she showed images of her condition, the dark veins, the failing organs, the data that showed certain death. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Many knew this story, but hearing it directly from the survivor was different, more powerful, more real. Then a human saved me, Da-un continued, using methods we considered primitive, using courage we had forgotten, using an enzyme we evolved away from millions of years ago. He cut his own palm and gave his blood directly into my veins. No processing, no filtration, just pure desperate action. She showed the data from that day, the wild readings, the metabolic storm, the battle between toxin and enzyme, the slow, impossible victory. The audience watched in silence. Some were shocked. Some were amazed. All were learning. This taught me something important, Da-un said. We think advancement means precision, specialization, perfect knowledge. But that is only one path. Humans took a different path. They became generalists, adaptable, willing to act without perfect knowledge. And sometimes that is exactly what we need. A Veltharn doctor stood up, one of her old teachers. Are you saying our medicine is inferior? His scales showed colors of anger, of challenge. Da-un understood. She had felt the same pride, the same defensiveness. No, she said firmly. I am saying it is incomplete, as is human medicine, as is every species' medicine. We each evolve different strengths, different approaches. Real advancement comes from combining them, from learning from each other. She invited Teo to the stage. He walked out quietly, calmly. His presence was not dramatic like some speakers, but it was real, solid, the kind of presence that came from actually doing the work, actually saving lives. Humans are not special, Teo said. His voice was soft, but it carried. We are just different. We evolved on a world that never became safe. That taught us to adapt constantly, to take risks, to trust our instincts. These traits are not better than Veltharn precision. Just different. He showed research on human biology, the aggressive immune system, the rapid healing, the ability to function under extreme stress. But he also showed the weaknesses. Humans got sick easily. They aged faster than most species. Their bodies were inefficient in many ways. The point is not that one species is better, Teo explained. The point is that we each have pieces of the puzzle. When we combine those pieces, we create something stronger than any individual approach. They presented case studies, diseases that no single species could cure. But when doctors from different worlds worked together, using combined approaches, they found solutions. A Veltharn precision drug delivered using human timing intuition, a crystalline diagnostic method enhanced by human pattern recognition. The examples kept coming. Each one showed the same pattern. Diversity created strength. Different perspectives revealed solutions. What seemed impossible to one species became possible when others contributed their unique knowledge. A human doctor in the audience asked a question. How do we know which approach to use? How do we choose between precision and action? It was a good question, one that many were thinking, Dunn answered. By understanding the situation. Time is a factor. If you have time, use precision. Study carefully. Make certain. But if time is running out, use courage. Act on incomplete knowledge. Trust your training and intuition. Both approaches are valuable. Both have their place. They talked about training, how medical education needed to change. Doctors should learn multiple approaches, study different species methods, understand that there were many paths to healing, not just one correct way. The presentation ended to mixed reactions. Some doctors stood and applauded. They understood immediately. They had been waiting for this message. Others sat silent, thinking, processing, challenging their own beliefs. A few left angry, unwilling to consider that their way was not the only way. But the seed was planted. Over the next days of the conference, debates erupted. Doctors from different species met in small groups, shared their methods, learned from each other. Old rivalries began to fade. New partnerships formed. Captain Yuna watched from the observer section. She felt proud of her crew. They had done more than save one life. They had started a revolution in galactic medicine, proven that young species had valuable contributions, that age and advancement did not equal wisdom. Dr. Juan spent the conference teaching workshops, showing doctors how to combine approaches, how to think beyond their training, how to see patients as unique challenges requiring flexible solutions. His workshops were packed. Everyone wanted to learn from the man who figured out the cure. Krixtal presented his own research, how he had adapted after watching Teo save Dayun, how he now incorporated human methods into his Veltharn practice. The results were impressive. Faster treatments, better outcomes, happier patients. Other species began examining their own lost traits. The Krethal rediscovered aggressive surgical techniques from their warrior past. The Sylvarn found ancient bacterial cultures that modern medicine had abandoned. Throughout the coalition, there was a renaissance of old knowledge combined with new understanding. On the last night of the conference, Dayun and Tayo stood on an observation deck. They watched ships depart, carrying doctors back to their worlds, carrying new ideas, new hope, new respect for different approaches. Do you think it will last? Dayun asked. This change, or will they go back to their old ways? Teo thought about it. Some will change, some will not. But enough will embrace adaptive medicine, enough to make a difference. We saved more than my life, Dayun said softly. We saved people who have not been born yet, who will be cured by methods we are creating now. Tayo nodded. That is what healers do. We plant seeds. We may not see the forest, but we know it will grow. They stood together in companionable silence. Two doctors who had proven that the future of medicine was not about one species, one approach, one way. It was about all of them. Together, combined, stronger than any could be alone. 1 year after the incident, the galaxy had changed. The change was not dramatic, not obvious to those who did not look closely, but it was real, deep, lasting, the kind of change that would shape civilizations for generations. The Coalition Medical Council now included human representatives, 3 of them. They sat alongside Veltharn masters and crystalline healers. Their voices carried equal weight. Their methods were studied and respected. Humanity had earned its place at the table. Medical schools across the galaxy added new courses: adaptive medicine, cross-species treatment protocols, emergency response under uncertainty. These classes taught what Daun and Teo had proven: that different approaches combined made better doctors, that no single species had all the answers. The Endeavor's promise continued its research missions. But now it carried mixed medical teams. Human doctors worked alongside Veltharn specialists. Engineers from different worlds solved problems together. The crew had proven that diversity was not just a nice idea. It was essential for survival. Dayun led the new department of adaptive medicine. Her office was filled with data from 100 worlds, treatment plans that combined multiple approaches, success stories that would have been impossible a year ago. She worked long hours but never complained. This was her calling now. Her purpose. Teo headed human emergency medical response. He trained both humans and aliens in what he called crisis medicine. How to act when time was critical, when perfect knowledge was impossible, when courage mattered more than certainty. His students saved lives across the galaxy. They still worked together often, planning research, discussing cases, teaching each other. The friendship that formed in the medical bay had deepened. They understood each other in ways that went beyond species, beyond culture. They were healers. That was enough. The toxin samples from the Crimson Wastes became valuable, not as weapons, but as research tools. Scientists studied them to understand ancient evolutionary battles. They developed synthetic versions of human enzymes that other species could use safely. What nearly killed Dayun now saved thousands. Other discoveries followed. Human blood compounds that fought infections, Veltharn precision techniques that improved surgery, crystalline diagnostic methods enhanced by human intuition. Each species contributed their unique strengths. Each discovery built on the others. Dr. Juan retired from active research, but he continued teaching. His classes on medical philosophy were legendary. Students from across the galaxy came to learn from the man who changed everything. He always told them the same thing: knowledge without courage is incomplete. Courage without knowledge is dangerous. Together they save lives. Captain Yuna received promotion offers, command of larger vessels, important positions on Coalition headquarters. She turned them all down. The Endeavor's promise was her ship, her crew, her home. She had learned that size and prestige meant nothing compared to purpose and community. Krixtal became a leader in mixed-species medical teams. He trained other Veltharns to work with human doctors, to respect different approaches, to combine precision with flexibility. His work helped bridge the gap between species, made cooperation normal instead of exceptional. The ship's hydroponics bay held something special, a small tree from Earth, planted on the anniversary of Daun's survival. It grew slowly but steadily. Its roots adapted to the artificial soil. Its leaves reached toward the artificial sun, a symbol of human adaptability, of survival against odds. Daun visited the tree often, sometimes alone, sometimes with Teo. They would stand beneath its branches and remember the fear, the desperation, the impossible hope, the moment when everything changed. One day, as they stood there, Daun touched her arm. The scar was barely visible now, just a thin line, but she knew it was there, would always be there, a permanent reminder of what she learned, what she almost lost, what she gained. Do you ever regret it? She asked Teo. Taking that risk? You could have killed me. Killed yourself. Lost everything. He looked at his own scar, the mark on his palm where he cut himself, where his blood flowed to save an alien life. Never, he said simply. I did what I was trained to do, what I believed was right. The outcome proved the theory. But even if it had failed, I would not regret trying. A healer who does not try is not a healer at all. Daun smiled. Her scales showed colors of contentment, of peace. I was arrogant, she said. I thought Veltharn medicine was superior to all others, that human methods were primitive. I nearly died because of that arrogance. You learned, Teo said. That is what matters. We all have arrogance. All think our way is best. The wise person learns from others, adapts, grows. You did that. Now you teach others to do the same. They received news that day. A young Veltharn on a distant colony had contracted shadow death, the same ancient toxin. The doctors there were panicking, preparing for certain death, but then they remembered the cure. They contacted human medical teams, prepared the treatment, saved the life. It was the first time someone else used their method, the first proof that their work had lasting impact. Dayun and Teo stood in silence, understanding what it meant. They had not just saved one life. They had created a system that would save many lives, for generations. More reports came in over the following months, other species using combined treatment approaches. Diseases being cured that were thought incurable, lives being saved through cooperation and diversity. The revolution they started was spreading, growing, becoming normal. The coalition changed in other ways too. Not just medicine. Engineering teams mixed species. Research projects combined different perspectives. Military units learned to value diverse tactics. The lesson spread beyond healthcare. Into every part of galactic society. Humanity's reputation transformed completely. They were no longer the young, reckless species, the primitives who stumbled into space. They were valued partners, contributors, teachers. Their willingness to take risks became an asset. Their adaptability became legendary, but humans did not become arrogant. They remembered that they needed others too, needed Veltharn precision, crystalline wisdom, the knowledge and strengths of hundreds of species. True strength came from combination, from respect, from working together. Ambassador Thelmora wrote a paper about the incident. It became required reading in coalition schools. She called it the moment when the galaxy grew up. When they stopped thinking in terms of superior and inferior, started thinking in terms of different and complementary. On the second anniversary, the crew held a ceremony. They gathered in the hydroponics bay around the Earth tree. It was taller now, stronger, its branches spread wide, a living symbol of growth and adaptation, of survival through cooperation. Captain Yuna spoke to the assembled crew. 2 years ago, we almost lost one of our own. We learned something that day. We learned that our differences are our strength, that every species has gifts to offer, that together we can solve problems that would defeat us alone. Dayun and Teo stood side by side, their scars hidden but not forgotten. Marks of the day everything changed. The day a human cut his palm and offered his blood. The day courage met precision. The day the galaxy learned that sometimes the cure comes from the most unexpected place. After the ceremony, they walked to the observation deck. Looked out at the stars. Millions of worlds out there, billions of beings. Each one unique. Each one valuable. Each one carrying pieces of knowledge that others needed. What do you think comes next? Dayun asked. It was a question without a clear answer, but that was okay. Uncertainty was not the enemy anymore. It was opportunity, the chance to learn, to grow, to discover. Teo smiled. More challenges, more problems that seem impossible, more chances to prove that together we can overcome anything. He looked at his friend, his partner. The woman who once dismissed human medicine as primitive, who now championed it alongside her own species' knowledge. More lives to save, Dayun agreed. Her scales showed colors of hope, of purpose. She thought about all the patients they would treat, all the students they would teach, all the lives that would be better because of what they learned, what they shared. The ship moved through space, carrying them toward new missions, new discoveries, new opportunities to prove that diversity was not weakness, that primitive and advanced were meaningless labels, that the strongest civilizations were those willing to learn, to adapt, to combine their strengths. Somewhere in the galaxy, another patient would face an impossible diagnosis. Another doctor would feel helpless. But now there was hope. Now there were methods. Now there was knowledge that came from a Veltharn woman and a human man. From courage and precision, from death defied and life preserved, the message was clear. The message was spreading. The message would endure. Never underestimate any species. Never dismiss any approach. Never stop learning from those who are different. Because sometimes salvation comes from unexpected places. Sometimes the cure requires nothing more than an open mind and a willing hand. And sometimes, just sometimes, all it takes to change the galaxy is one brave human willing to cut his palm and offer his blood. One dying Veltharn willing to trust him, and the courage to believe that together anything is possible. 3 days passed. Dayun grew stronger each day. Her scales regained their golden color. Her breathing became steady. The dark veins were completely gone. Only faint scars remained where the poison had nearly destroyed her. Scars that would remind her forever of how close she came to death. She stayed in the medical bay for observation. Crystal ran tests constantly, checking for toxin remnants, monitoring her organs, making sure the human enzymes had not caused lasting damage. Every test came back better than expected. Her body had not just survived. It had adapted. The traces of human blood in her system were being absorbed slowly. Her immune system had stopped fighting them. It had learned, recognized them as helpers, not enemies. This was unprecedented in medical science. Cross-species blood acceptance. It should not have been possible. Teo recovered quickly. Humans were good at recovering from blood loss. It was another gift from their violent planet. He visited Daun every day. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. A strange friendship was forming, born from shared survival. On the 4th day, Daun asked him to explain. Really explain. How did he know it would work? How did he have the courage to try? They sat in the medical bay. The machines beeped softly around them. The ship hummed with its usual sounds. Earth is a hard world, Teo began. His voice was quiet, thoughtful. Harder than most species realize. We evolved alongside thousands of predators.
Countless diseases.
Every plant seemed to have a toxin. Every animal had venom or claws or teeth. Our bodies learned to fight everything. That sounds terrible, Daun said. She tried to imagine such a world. Her home planet was toxic, but in known ways. Ways her species had mastered. Earth sounded like constant danger. Constant death. How did you survive? We adapted, Teo said simply. We did not try to be perfect like Veltharns. We could not be specialists. So we became generalists. Our immune systems attack everything, violently, aggressively. Other species call it reckless. But it keeps us alive. He explained how human medicine developed, not from laboratories and precision science, but from healers watching bodies fight, learning what helped, what hurt, trying things, failing, trying again. Human medicine was built on thousands of years of trial and error, of courage and desperation. My grandmother was a healer, Teo said. His eyes looked distant, remembering. She lived in the mountains. She used herbs and old knowledge. She said that the body wants to live. A doctor's job is to help it fight, to give it weapons. Sometimes the weapons are medicine. Sometimes they are just time and belief. Dayun listened carefully. This was so different from Veltharn medicine. Her people had precise treatments for precise problems. They knew exactly which molecule would fix which cell, but they had lost something along the way. The ability to work with uncertainty, to trust the body itself. You took a huge risk, she said. What if I died? What if your blood killed me faster? Teo met her eyes. Then I would have tried and failed. But you were dying anyway. Certain death or possible survival. The choice seemed clear to me. Veltharn doctors would not take that risk, Daun admitted. We would study more, test more, make absolutely certain before acting. By then I would be dead. She touched her arm where Teo's blood had entered. You chose action over certainty. Yes, Teo said. Because sometimes certainty is impossible. Sometimes you have to trust your knowledge, your instincts, your courage. That is what humans do. Not because we are brave, but because we have no choice. News of the cure spread across coalition space. Scientists from every species wanted the data, wanted to understand how it worked. Medical journals prepared special issues. The Veltharn High Council sent official messages of gratitude. Humanity's standing in the galactic community changed overnight. Dr. Juan became famous. Requests for interviews came daily. Everyone wanted to talk to the old scientist who figured out the solution, but he always credited Teo. I had the theory, he said, but Teo had the courage to test it. Courage is rarer than knowledge. Veltharn scientists studied the human enzyme. They synthesized it, created versions that other species could use safely. The compound that saved Daun would save countless others. Diseases thought incurable were suddenly treatable, all because of a primitive enzyme humans never lost. But there was more. Other scientists began looking at human biology with new eyes. What else did humans have that advanced species had lost? What other primitive traits were actually strengths? Research programs started across the galaxy, studying human immune systems, human healing rates, human adaptability. They found surprising things. Human blood had dozens of unique compounds, proteins that could fight infections other species could not resist, antibodies that worked in strange and unexpected ways. Humans were like living libraries of evolutionary solutions earned through millions of years of surviving a brutal world. Dayun spent hours reading the research. She had been arrogant. She admitted this to herself. She had thought Veltharn medicine was superior to all others. But superiority was not about precision, it was about results, and human medicine got results in ways her people never considered. "We evolved to conquer our world," she said to Teo one day. "We mastered the toxins, eliminated the predators, made our planet safe. But you never got that luxury. Earth never became safe, so you never stopped adapting," Teo nodded. "That is accurate. Earth is still dangerous, still chaotic. Humans complain about it, dream of safer worlds. But that danger made us what we are, adaptable, stubborn, willing to try impossible things." A new medical philosophy emerged from their conversations. Dayan called it adaptive medicine, combining Veltharn precision with human flexibility, using the best of both approaches. Other doctors joined their discussions. Soon it became a formal research program. Captain Yuna watched her crew change. Humans walked with more confidence. Aliens looked at them with more respect. The young species was not so young anymore, not so primitive. They had proven their worth in the most dramatic way possible. By saving a life no one else could save. The Medical Council of the Coalition invited human representatives. For the first time, humans would help make decisions about galactic health policy. Their unique perspective was valued now, needed. The council realized that diversity was not just political correctness. It was survival. On the 10th day, Da'un was cleared to return to duty. She stood in the medical bay one last time, looked at the bed where she almost died, the place where human blood mixed with Veltharn, where two species became something more together. Teo came to walk her back to her quarters. They stopped at the viewing window, looked out at the stars. Thousands of worlds out there, hundreds of species, each one shaped by their own evolution, each one carrying their own gifts. "Thank you," Da'un said. She touched the scar on her arm. "You did not just save my life. You taught me to see medicine differently, to value courage as much as knowledge." Teo smiled. "And you taught me that precision matters. That knowledge has its place. We make each other better." She looked at his hand. The scar where he cut himself, where he offered his blood without hesitation. "That scar," she said, "it means something." To both of us, he nodded. "It means that sometimes the answer to our problems comes from unexpected places, from people we might have dismissed, from methods we thought were primitive. It means we are stronger together," Da'un said. "Veltharn precision and human courage combined, that is real medicine." They stood in silence for a moment. Two doctors from different worlds, bound by blood and survival, ready to change galactic medicine forever. The ship moved through space, carrying them toward new discoveries, new challenges, new opportunities to prove that diversity was not weakness. It was the greatest strength of all.